I'm a snake. I'm a slippery little sneaky snake. And we're back on Total War Warhammer 2, where the Queen of Asps and the Lich King have teamed up against the beasts of the far north. The Chill of Winter versus the Scorching Desert, Woolly Mammoth versus Towering Construct, and an epic 2v2 where the Undead of Nehekhara defend their homeland from plunder once again. And if you want Marauders off your lawn, there are few leaders better to send than Arkhan the Black, with the Lore of Death and a reworked Tomb Blade that no longer regenerates allies in an AoE, but instead summons huge ranks of Skelly Boys that can put quite a few extra numbers on the field. So he has 5 uses of those, 120-second cooldown, and he has to be in melee for that to refresh. So getting full use out of it is pretty challenging, because he's not really a melee combatant, but still pretty interesting there. We got Necropolis Knights as a great backline protectors with Poison, High Mass, and Bonus Force Large, and the Sphinx of Usekf, the Regiment of Renown Necrosphinx, straight up hard counter to Skin Wolves, Mammoths, and Trolls, but is also a huge target for Marauder Javelin Volleys. And as we know, Norsca excels at hunting big monsters, so it will be very interesting to see how that works out. We have put a heavy emphasis on ranged firepower with 4 Ushabti Great Bows, the Lore of Lightcaster, Nun of Amantok, and Queen Khalida herself, basically just trying to maximize that damage we can do before the lines meet. But Norsca has some very thematic and tricksy traps up their sleeve as well. For the Beasts of Wintertooth, Ice Trolls on the left flank with Frostbite, Move Slow, and a hell of a lot of regeneration. Bad leadership can be mitigated somewhat by the Wintertooth Crown and Throgg the Troll King. And, as you might expect, lots of Hunters with Jabs, and Wulfrik the Wanderer on top of his own powerful pachyderm of Chaos. A Famir Balefiend with the Lore of Fire, obviously a great choice against the Tomb Kings. His Burning Head and Flaming Sword of Ruin can make a huge impact. And Throgg the Troll King doing a Michael Jackson moonwalk to kick us off. Shemount. And we've got a Fire Shaman there in the back, putting a lot of eggs in that Burning Head basket to quickly neutralize the Tomb Guard front line, which is honestly pretty smart. Lore of Fire truly is great against the Tomb Kings and does additional damage, 22% extra damage against all Tomb Kings lords, I believe. Brutes of the Hound, they're beastly. They're going to carve through Tomb Guard pretty easily, and more Norscan Ice Trolls out on the flank, and those are the builds. So, do you guys remember that scene from Return of the King at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields where Theoden is shouting for the Rohirrim to bring it down, bring it down, bring it down? Well, that was honestly some of the worst tactics I've ever seen in any movie ever, why you would want a cavalry charge into the front of a bunch of elephants clearly designed for smashing you into dust. I don't know, but that's what we're going to do with Ushabti here. We're going to try to bring them down because those mammoths will stomp any Tomb King's infantry into dust. So if we get all of our Great Bows close to Queen Khalida, get that Blessing of Asaf for extra reload skill and missile damage, it's going to be a good time. And every mammoth, every troll, every Fimir dead before melee, the better off we are going to be. So get them near Queen Khalida, and then of course as the lines start getting a little bit closer, we'll want to pull back to a much more safe position and let our Tomb Guard shield walls and our phalanxes hold the line here as Norscan Ice Trolls bust into the front of a bunch of Nehekharan warriors, and they're gonna paste them, they're gonna bust them up, break some bony boys and suckle that juicy marrow underneath, but they're not gonna stick around for too long because Necropolis Knights are on the prowl and Asaf's vengeance will be swift on them. But in the meantime, in the center, Famir warriors moving up, and Lore of Lightcaster getting a big Shem's Burning Gaze, gonna just tickle Famir warrior, not even kill a single model there. And that patented Berserker Famir combo special has hit home over with Arkhan the Black, and it's going to wreak some serious devastation. Even Tomb Guard are not going to fare particularly well against that powerful infantry, monstrous infantry combo. Over on this side, Sphinx of Usekf bounds forward like a happy little puppy of murder, and those Ice Trolls and Fire Shaman in the wrong neighborhood for sure. Shouldn't take more than a couple of swings of those Scything Blades to take down the Shaman, so he'll need to pull out of there if he doesn't want to get absolutely destroyed. Skeleton Horsemen doing a good job disrupting the Marauder Hunters in the back lines and kind of running over them. Wulfrik still being focused out by all that Great Bow Ushabti fire. And over here, Corrosive Bile mixing with Khalida's Poison in the center. Burning Head going down, and we're going to put that in slow motion because that's going to be pretty glorious. Both Queen Khalida's and Arkhan the Black's Tomb Guard are stuck in that fight. Maybe some Nehekharan warriors thrown in there as well. Not just Tomb Guard, and they're going to get shredded by those Burning Heads. That is a very powerful combination against Tomb Kings, especially in 2v2s, because positioning even with very good positioning, even with good staggering of your lines, it's very hard to pay attention to both yours and your teammates' armies. I am playing with Italian Spartacus. We are against the Evil Dov plays and Black Iron battles. And you can see Wulfrik being focused down by Shem's Burning Gaze and all those great bow armor-piercing shots. He's taken a lot of damage so far. Sphinx of Usak still on the prowl, waiting to get thrown in a good time. Ice Trolls doing a lot of work in the center there when they're buffed up by the support from the Unbreakable Wintertooth Crown, if Throgg decides to pop that. And Tomb Guard, Nehekhara Warriors trying to hold out on the left flank, but this is not a very good position for the Tomb Kings to be in over there. That's a lot of monstrous infantry, and oh my god, look at Wulfrik. He went away for about a second there, and he has already been murdered by the Sphinx. Only a couple attacks, and that Mammoth is having a very bad time. This is exactly what the Necrosphinx is designed to do, especially when you add fire damage and magical damage on top of it. Wulfrik being side apart here, and I don't think his Mammoth is going to be able to escape. A couple more attacks, Wulfrik goes plummeting from his own Mammoth, and it has been brought down. That is a big blow to the Norscan infantry formation early on. That is the linchpin of their aggressiveness, and with Wulfrik dead, that's a big blow to their leadership as well. You can see that that's also hurt the Mammoth over on this side. Chaos War Shrine on top of that Norscan War Mammoth. Not looking good. Doom and Darkness gonna further drop the leadership of that thing. And a big Vortex spell, looks like a Purple Sun Azarius in the middle of the Berserker infantry line. Ushabti being summoned in the back. And that's going to hurt a lot of their infantry over on that side. Flamestorm ripping through. And yeah, that Chaos War Shrine Mammoth gone from the field. Leadership dropped below 0. And that means the Sphinx of Usak can hunt it down and make sure it never comes back. And believe me, we don't want that thing coming back, because a Mammoth in your back line is a bad thing in any game, no matter what faction you're playing. So my Grim Reaper statue will kindly see the elephant off the screen, which will give the monstrous infantry for the Norskins a pretty significant respite in the melee brawl, because it has to run all the way to the edge of the map to make sure it can't rally. And that's a big problem, because now there are Famir in the back of the Tomb King's line, and they are destroying the Ushabti with great bows, who had some ammunition left. They did their duty in killing Wulfrik pretty early on, but they're going to have a hard time running away from some of the other monstrous infantry for sure. Now, the Norskins have actually bust through the Tomb King's left flank here, and only some Ushabti summons are keeping that entire flank in the fight here. Khalida getting a good shot in with her Staff of Asaf, but it's not going to be enough. Berserkers and all that monstrous infantry pushing through. Another into the Tomb Guard with halberds. Throgg has routed, though, and that's also a problem for the Norskins. He has almost no health left. He's been beaten up by Arkhan, by Khalida, and by the Tomb Guard with infantry. And so you might say to yourself at this point, oh, it's totally in the bag. Tomb Kings totally have this. I mean, both the Legendary Lords pretty much off the field for Norsca now. How do they possibly win this game? Well, the infantry fight and the monstrous infantry for the Norskins are extremely powerful, and some really good burning heads here, shredding through a big swath of the Tomb Guard, have kind of equalized things regardless. Even though the leadership is still high for the Tomb Kings, Khalida and Arkhan both in good shape right now, the rest of their army is a bit in tatters, and the impact of that charge, the impetus of all those Fimir and Norscan Ice Trolls charging in, has been more than enough to batter through the Tomb Guard front line, and now it's kind of devolved into a mess all over the battlefield. As another Flamestorm goes down, that will shred through Tomb Guard with halberds, no problem whatsoever. Wasn't an amazing Vortex, but certainly did some damage there. And yeah, only a few Bastions left of Tomb Guard holding on here as Marauder Javs get their shots in, and Berserkers manage to kind of tear into them with their bonus versus infantry and their very powerful melee attack. So, having generals dead against Tomb Kings, not ideal, but they do have two bastions of leadership for them. They have the Famir Balefiend and they have the Fire Sorcerer, who are both still alive. So using those, making sure their infantry are within the radius of that leadership buff will be very important as Ice Trolls try to take on the Necrosphinx. And the Sphinx of Usak he just wants none of it, man. He's not going to take that. I mean, it's just not even a fair fight. It's not even close to a fair fight. Ice Trolls just butchered by that Sphinx in the back there, and that should pretty much shatter them as he cleaves through them, no problem whatsoever. Khalida, in her element here, she will have no problem ripping through Berserkers, and with those poison shots from her Necro Serpent, yeah, those Marauder Jabs, going running and going flying as she makes contact, and she will harry them into the desert sands, make sure they cannot rally if she can. And yeah, every single one of those attacks, ripping them apart. It's fun. I love Khalida. She is by far my favorite lord for the Tomb Kings. Incredibly fun to use on top of that Necro Serpent. And Sphinx of Usak still doing what it does best. Just causing routes, causing terror, causing monstrous infantry to poop their pants. And Fimir are thinking of taking that fight. And by themselves, they're not going to have a good time there either. But if they have some support from the Marauder Javelins, that could be something that turns in their favor. And Ushabti, glorious. I mean, their animations when they get into light infantry is just so much fun to watch, dude. They're by far one of the best parts of this DLC, and they're just jibbing things left and right. Berserkers have no chance here, but with the backing of the Norscan Ice Trolls, that will make those summons finally disappear. More attacks from those siding blades. Necrosphinx doing so much work here, but can it carry the day? It's gonna be pretty hard. Outcome still very much up in the air. Isolated brawls breaking out all over the Mortis Waste, and the AP weapons of Norsca beginning to take their toll on the beast from the southeast, giving the hunters time to regroup and start focusing their shots on that high-value target. Khalida sees it. She knows what's going on. Certainly isn't powerless to stop it. Just imagine how terrifying it would be to see that Necro Serpent slithering across the sand towards you and your homies. But here comes the Lore of Lich. Oh my god. That was so manly. I don't even know what to say about that charge. That was glorious. The Lore of Light Lich Priest absolutely destroying a group of Marauder Hunters there. And that's giving the Necrosphinx more time to fire. But they are in close range and they're still able to fire in there and do some damage. Last Bastion of Tomb Guard, I think, getting bowled over by Norscan Ice Trolls from the flank. And yeah, more volleys going in there. And one Lich Priest, as awesome as that charge was, will not be enough to silence all of them. Another charge coming in from Arkhan, and the Necro Sphinx pulling back, trying to chase off those Fimir, do exactly what he did with the Mammoth, make sure they do not return to the fight. Because we need to make sure that everything that routes leaves the battlefield, that can't come back, because you leave a group of Fimir like that, especially with great weapons, they're a big threat. And one more sighting attack will make sure that they do not come back. That should shatter them. But we have another problem here. Some Fimir are trying to escape and get back to their own battle lines, and you can see what's left on the field. It's the Lore of Light Lich Priest, it's Arkhan the Black, it's Queen Khalida, and a severely battered Sphinx of Usak. And that, I believe, is it for the Tomb Kings. Now, it's not like Norsca's faring much better, but they have a lot more units. They have a lot more battlefield coverage, and the Fimir will actually manage to escape. Arkhan trying to cause that last little bit of routing. Maybe it'll work. Khalida and the Necrosphinx charging forward, and one attack will be enough to send it. It won't kill it, but it will shatter the Fire Shaman, make sure he does not return as more of those Javelin volleys go in here. Big explosion from the Venom Staff and Queen Khalida charging into the middle of the Berserkers, and it's Arkhan and Queen Khalida fighting back-to-back against the hordes of filthy Northman barbarians, trying to make sure that their pyramids are not plundered in the deserts of ancient Nehekhara here. And you can still see that Necrosphinx fighting in the back. Fimir warriors with great weapons surrounding it. Javelin volleys going in as well. Crumbling has set in for the Necrosphinx. Queen Khalida is jibbing everything in close range, and the Necrosphinx goes down there, falling to the earth, shattered in the background, and that leaves Khalida, and it leaves Arkhan the Black. Quite unlikely duo here. Arkhan, of course, not exactly friends with the rest of the Tomb King's lords, but they're doing it, and that is a summon from the Tomb Blade, which will give a little bit more numbers to the field for now. Remember that the skeleton warriors he can summon are actually a bigger unit than a typical unit of skeletons, so that could be very useful here. Balance bar still relatively even, maybe shifting a little bit towards the Tomb Kings at the moment, but Queen Khalida and Arkhan are fighting by themselves. As soon as the skeletons crumble here, there will be nothing left to protect them. It'll just be their melee prowess and whatever spells they have left, fighting off the hordes of Norskins. But they're beginning to break a little bit here. Fimir don't want any of that. Khalida, even with a sliver of HP left, still carving a path, murdering everything in sight. And this is an awesome last stand. This is so much fun to watch. Necro Serpent doing so much work for the Tomb Kings here. And Berserkers fighting to the death. Remember, those are Brutes of the Hound, which means they are unbreakable. And it's just time for Arkhan and Khalida to bully the crap of everything that still remains on the field. The Tomb Kings will take it here, but not before we get to watch the butchery commence and Khalida and Arkhan make their stand and just slaughter everything in close quarters. I mean, Arkhan will do what he can, but he's kind of like a necromantic nerd. Close quarters is not really his thing. He's looking pretty weak here. You can see every time he swings that tomb blade, nothing's really happening to the Brutes of the Hound. Meanwhile, in the background, Khalida's just showering the desert with the blood of all of her enemies, bullying everything in sight. Every thwap of that tail just bisecting the Brutes here. And yeah, I mean, let's just take a second here. I'll be quiet. Just admire the glorious nature of Khalida's melee prowess. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing indeed. And yeah, these last two, maybe one. Yeah, I think this one guy is going to make a last stand against Arkhan and Khalida. And he's just going to get bullied, dude. Every time that Necro Serpent attacks, I've actually had this happen to me a couple times. I remember when the Tomb Kings first came out, I was playing a Battle of Party Elite in early access. And the same thing happened to Queek. He played Skaven, Queek Head Taker, and Khalida just kept attacking him over and over again. Couldn't get that final blow, but would just push him around like this, send him flying 50 feet every time he attacked. It's pretty hilarious, and we just can't strike that final killing blow, but then it comes. Cut in half. She will celebrate. The Tomb Kings will take the field with almost nothing left. That is the definition of a Pyrrhic victory. Such a fun battle. Great game to Dob plays Black Iron Battles and Italian Spartacus. Which is really fun. And at the end, only 3 Tomb Kings left standing. The Lore of Light Lich Priest, Khalida herself, and Arkhan himself. Really cool. Very cool battle. So yeah, you look at the kills here. Probably the biggest issue Norsca faced that battle was Wulfrik was put on a 2,000 gold mammoth and made almost no impact. 10 kills. 10 kills is problematic. Chaos War Shrine, 18 kills. Those mammoths did nothing. And honestly, I think Mammoth is fine in the matchup, but you need to be more protective of those units, right? Like, they kind of just ran forward with the rest of the army. And yeah, you're going to take a little bit of a leadership hit if Wulfrik isn't on the main line when you first charge in. But it's better to keep them back out of range of the Ushabti with great bows. Wait until you can tie them down, then you can send forward the Mammoths, and then they're going to stomp over the Tomb King infantry, no problem. Problem was that they kind of went up with the rest of the army and they got shot to pieces on the way in. And by the time Wulfrik made it in, Necrosphinx was waiting for him and he had nowhere to go. And Wulfrik may be a beast, but fighting the Sphinx of Usek, there are very few things in the game that can do it, and it's certainly not going to be a monster that specializes in anti-infantry combat. But yeah, really fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Great game to everybody involved. See you next time. Indie Pride, signing out for now.